Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on, Cam, last year, we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer, right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
I asked Comey one more time. I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
I bet you can't guess what you're listening to. It's the Whitetail Legacy Podcast. It's coming at you on this Wednesday, coming at you with a pretty solid episode, a different topic. I
hear guns in the background.
Yeah, guns are ripping. That's normal for Whitetail Legacy. I mean, gun hunting, that's what we do around here. Making gun hunting cool again, one buck at a time.
Yes.
Should I hunt in the rain? That's the topic that we're covering in this episode. We got a lot of energy coming at you. We're going to start out with the people that make this possible. We're going to get into the content. This is a good one, man. We got Adam Lewis from SoundBarrier. He actually killed a couple bucks in the rain this year and had a really good hunt. So let's get into the people, and then we'll get right to the action. We'll start out with the VIP Veteran Broadhead. The Combat Veteran is available with the all-American 100% made steel, guys. If you guys are looking for a new broadhead this year, check out the Combat Veteran or the regular Veteran. It's coming out at a very reasonable price this year. Not much more you can ask for out of a broadhead. The Combat Veteran is shooting true. It's pretty much flawless, man. I'm in love with it. It's really good to have a broadhead that you don't have to worry about. You know what I mean? It's just shooting, you know what I mean? And you know it's going to kill.
Yep, I gave away a couple pieces of the two-blade Veteran to somebody who was shooting the two-blade Veteran because I'm pretty much all in on the four-blade. So.
Oh, yeah. All right, you got the VIP shout-out.
Yeah, this week's VIP Veteran Broadhead shout-out is Bryce Weatherford. Bryce served in the U.S. Army for 12 years. Bryce was deployed for a total of 3 years, and unfortunately, during one of his 3 years overseas, he missed the birth of his daughter, and those are the sacrifices that these soldiers are sacrificing for our freedom. So, Bryce, I can't imagine missing a childbirth, and I'm not sure that there's anything I can say to replace that, but other than, we're thankful for your service overseas and, you signing up to do what you did, and everybody here at Whitetail Legacy and the VIP family, thanks you, man.
Yeah, if you haven't reached out for a VIP shout-out, and you are a veteran, I just want to thank you, man. That we try to do this. This is something that we don't take lightly. We've been doing it since the very first episode we ever recorded, and it's something that we take, pretty serious. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
and what you do.
That one right there hit kind of hard right there,
man. We're kids, and it's serious stuff, man. And a lot of people aren't able to come back, you know what I mean? And they got kids at home, and I see those stories, man. It just breaks me down, and we just, thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. VIP family, everybody, we appreciate you. Let's get into ECW calls, all your custom call needs. EmbryCustomWoodworking.com, right out of Roseville, Illinois. If you guys are local, check them out. Do you have the Exodus Trail Cam tip of the week?
Yeah, the Exodus Trail Cam tip of the week is be sure you guys are doing the research on your trail cam models to be sure that you guys are running the max SD card capacity that you can. If you're only able to run a 16 gig card in that cam, then you need to run a 16 gig card cam or 16 gig card. A lot of cams are able to run a 32 gig, and there's probably not a chance you're going to fill that up in a month, depending on your scenario or how you have your camera settings set up. But definitely want to be able to get into the biggest card that you can.
Yeah, that's something we talk about. Use those nice big cards. But if a guy's running an older cam and it's only good for 16 gigs, he put his 32 gig card in there, walks away,
It's
and
gone.
then for 3 weeks he gets no pics. You know what I mean? So that's something you need to check. Check out those cams and make sure that the card that you're running is compatible with that camera. NextLevelDeerSupplements.com. Just another week. Just want to shout out Nate and Scott for all they do. They're in our Snapchat group. These guys are grinding, man. They're grinding every day to make their company better, to grow one more person or one more distributor, or make shipping better, or make their product better, or do some more science on this. They're always trying to be the best they can, and they're not satisfied with what they got. You know what I mean? That says a lot. They're selling product, and they could just be like, okay, we got a good thing going. People are buying it. They're always trying to get better and better and better. So just a giant shout-out to them. Solid dudes, solid friends. You got anything else?
No, man, you pretty much nailed that.
If you guys are looking for any supplements, feed, mineral, anything like that, we know we have got word that a few of our listeners have bought from Next Level. Shout out Matt.
Yep.
We got the word that you were going to try some out. So we appreciate you giving some faith in them, man. We, like I said, if you can mineral or feed it in your state, it's a company that isn't only giving you a solid product, but they're not a giant name brand company that you have no face to. It's a couple dudes who has families in Nebraska that are trying to grow a business, and
you can call and talk to them.
You can call and talk to them and get all the knowledge or whatever you want to know. So, all right, Ingram's Outdoor Obsession, all your taxidermy needs. Man, your turkey mount, I'm excited to see it. What'd you go with? You never really said what you went with.
I would say, so I'm going to go with the full strut.
Strut. Spurs showing? No, wings down. What are you doing?
Yeah, I got wings down. So
what's the spurs like on that bird?
The spurs are maybe
weak?
5/8. Yeah, they're weak.
They're weak as hell.
They're weak.
5/8.
I know. I should
Is
have
that
passed
even
it.
on a tape measure?
He's just a solid 2-year-old. I mean, come on. But I did ask Ingram, because I'm probably not going to get him out of his shop, how I'm going to have him mounted finally, because I'm going to do kind of the Grand Slam mount. And Ingram said that, they put wires in their feet, and you're able to manipulate them wires from
so you can put like one
from
leg?
display to display. So he'll be probably full strut, feet, pretty much just like he's walking. And then when I get him
snood game strong.
his snoo games it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
it
I'm
was
excited to see
it was a 3-incher.
It was a 3-inch.
It's a 3-incher.
I mean, that's
so,
decent.
I mean,
snood.
it's not. We're not competing with the Nebraska
That's
boys.
probably
but,
the average
I mean, it's
snood
decent.
for
So, and then when I have him on the final display, it'll probably be, his feet will kind of be curled up on some red dirt.
Oh, nice. That'd be
so,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little red dirt.
Yeah, I seen a better display of the Grand Slam mountain. The guy had a setup, and he had more habitat than the other one did, and I really liked it.
I really
so I was
like habitat, man.
I would say really with
carries
the
a long
turkeys,
way.
it really can really carry a lot, and I'd like to get some red dirt right there, and
I
really
love
set that off.
Those Easterns with like the morels and the moss and the grass and stuff.
Maybe like a forked horn down there, just
something.
Sitting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
all
right.
that's kind of the.
I'm
the
Ingram
motto.
to crush it. Whatever
He's
he does,
gonna
he'll
smoke
crush
it.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, we're gonna get into this episode. We're talking, should I hunt in the rain? This is a pretty sketchy topic, I think. I mean, we covered it in this episode. You guys are gonna enjoy. All right, guys, we got a good one coming at you this week. We're talking to Adam Lewis from SoundBarrier. How are you doing tonight, man?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We got some Moscow mules over here going low cow tonight. Make sure my throat don't dry out.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, man. I'm excited to learn about SoundBarrier, and then we're also going to talk about something that me and Homie has thought that there's a low-key tactic forever, and that's bucks in the rain or right after rain. And you wrote a really good blog about this on your page there at SoundBarrier, and just so a lot of people know, you have a ton of good blogs on there. If you like to read content, that SoundBarrierHunting.com has a lot of good content on there for hunting. I really like the buck bedding one. Enjoyed that a lot, and then also like this hunting in the rain, and then also that giant one that you had the story of that guy hunting, and then you did a blog.
Oh,
It was super cool.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, a lot of stuff on there, and hopefully guys can get something out of it.
Yeah, I think you keep putting stuff out, people will find it, and hopefully, I know you get some followers. A lot of our followers are whitetail enthusiasts that want to learn, and you guys check out their blogs. Says if I'm learning some good content for it, there's some good stuff in there. But let's start off and just let the listeners know a little bit about you and a little bit about SoundBarrier.
Yeah, so I've been hunting 28 years. I live in southern Michigan, and so Michigan's has a big hunting heritage, but there's also a ton of hunters, so it's really high pressure. And probably about 5 years ago or so, I started a business called SoundBarrier, and it really centers around a problem I had, I know a lot of hunters have, and that is noise we make and how that affects our hunting, And so really the blog is centered around that, although we cover tons of topics on whitetails. But our products is called Buck Bumper, and it really is just, noise was a problem as far as, coming and going, but also, your equipment, you have, your stand, your sticks, camera arms, all this stuff that can make noise, right? Metal, plastic. And I really couldn't find anything out there that really worked great to silence that. There's the moleskin stuff, the fuzzy stuff, which works okay, but I wanted something better than that. So we came up with this thing called Buck Bumper. It's a wrap. You can wrap any of your equipment with it. Your sticks, you can completely wrap those, camera arms, you name it. And there's also a Buck Bumper Thick, which is a thicker one that is kind of a strip that you can put in contact areas and stuff like that. So like under my tree stand where it's metal on metal and you're making noise putting it up or taking it down, you can silence that. So it really is just something to help the stealth area, especially with bow hunters that, we're in there hunting tight a lot of times, going after these bucks, and we just have to be silent. If we make a mistake, that's kind of the end of it. So anyways, it's based around that, and it's called Buck Bumper, and so we sell that, through the website, and it's just the best solution I could find to come up with to solve that noise issue. So that's what SoundBarrier is about, and again, I also have a blog where I write about all things whitetail on there and share my experiences and different things on there that, like you said, it's just a lot of content and good things to look at and to discuss. So that's kind of the nutshell, I guess, of the website and, what I'm doing there. And as a writer, some of those I've got published too, so that's kind of a side gig all in itself. But
nice, that's epic, man. Get some stuff published. Like I said, there's a lot of good stuff on there. I haven't had time to read through it. Like I said, props before we started, we have a blog, and it takes a lot of time to write that stuff. People don't understand the amount of time it takes to write something down on a computer and then get pictures to go with it and et cetera. And it takes a long time to put that stuff together, and then it's good that you're getting some exposure from it because you deserve it, man.
Appreciate it, yep.
And then the SoundBarrier, I could see a lot of good uses that it would come in for. Just like we were talking, our camera arm, we run that fourth arrow, and that tool tings on that camera arm. It seems like every other time we're setting it up, and I feel like that would be the perfect place to run that down. And also on that mobile, what was it, the mobile bracket for it?
Oh, yeah, that run and gun bracket.
Yeah, run and gun bracket. It was pretty loud. So that'd be another great place. But we're going to talk about... hunting
Go
bucks
ahead.
in the rain. This is something
Yeah.
me and homie have had people on, and I don't know how many Legends episodes it was that we had, and people were like, right before a rain or right after a rain or during the rain, this buck come out, and I'm excited just to hear your theories on it, and just go ahead and break it down, man.
Yeah, well, definitely theories. What I try to do, and the blog really helps with this. I actually wrote one blog where the whole point of the blog was pointing out that to become a better hunter, if you really can write about it or think about it, it really makes you analyze why deer would do what they do, and it helps you learn a lot. So just by doing something like that, it helps you really reflect. And so this one topic, yeah, hunting in the rain is. I'd heard a lot about guys saying, "Oh, yeah, I've had my best hunts in the rain. I've hunted in rains before, and sometimes you see deer and sometimes you don't." But um, in particular, last year I had this hunt that was in the rain, and it was just really interesting the things that I observed. And like I said, you're used to kind of you come up with theories about. Um, so I hunt in Michigan, I hunt in Ohio, Central Ohio. And so when I go down there, because of my job, I can only go down for like a weekend here or there. So I have really limited time. I have to make the most of it, right? And so this past year kind of set the table, so to say. So this past year, I didn't have a lot of luck in Michigan early on. So I was really looking forward to Ohio. And the first couple weeks of November obviously are, the best times, the rut times of the year. And so I went down there, I think is the first weekend of November. And I have a couple properties I hunt, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth trying to figure, where to hunt and where the deer are, where they aren't. And during that hunt, I saw a lot of buck activity on one property, and really passed up some really nice bucks, like 3-year-old. I passed up a 10 point that just this huge body, 10 point that was like a 10 yards on this hunt. I was just seeing a lot of activity, like they were just starting to chase. And a few years ago, I probably would have pulled the trigger on one or two of these bucks, but the day before I left, I got this picture on a trail camera of this just really big 10 point, probably the biggest one I've ever gotten trail camera. Huge 10 point, had like 12, 14-inch tines, G2s, and just a massive buck that was there in daylight the day before. So the last day I hunted, I was just looking for him pretty much. So I saw a lot of activity. I passed on those bucks, and I'd planned on coming down, the next weekend. I noticed a lot of the activity was in one particular hub, and to kind of describe this property, it's only about 35 acres. It is pretty much just goes downhill. When you walk on it, you're walking downhill toward the bottom, and the hill continues to go down even off the property. So I was toward the bottom. It's super thick on this property, and there's just kind of two tracks cut throughout it. And so you kind of pretty much have to hunt on the two tracks where there's some openings. And so I noticed that all the bucks that I saw that weekend had gone through this one hub at some point of about 4 or 5 of these two tracks that came together. So before I left, I hung a stand there, planning on the next weekend that, hey, these bucks are just firing up. The next weekend should be perfect, and this looks like the spot to be, So the next weekend, I'm looking forward to it, and I look at the weather, though, and I see there's this huge rain front coming through for the first day or two that I'm going to be there. And, I definitely am going to go down there because this is like my opportunity. But the question comes up, do I hunt in the rain or not? And I know that's one of the things, and feel free to jump in here at any time, guys, but a lot of people, are back and forth on this, whether it's ethical or not. Because, and I'm not talking hunting in like straight downpours where, the winds are 50 miles an hour, 50, 60, and but just like a good rain, it's supposed to be medium rain all day. Is that ethical to hunt? Some guys will say, yeah, go ahead. Other guys won't do it, right? And so I'm kind of, weighing all that stuff because obviously when you're hunting in the rain, you're soaking all your gear, right? And your bow's out in the rain, your rest, have a fall away rest that can become an issue, especially if it freezes up or something, gets all wet inside. Our clothes are getting wet, you can't hear it all, during the rain. And so things become very difficult. And then obviously, if you get a shot, you're not going to have much of a blood trail. So, there's an ethical question there. So I deliberated on all that, but, I had this picture of this huge buck in daylight, and I decided that I was going to hunt, that time during the rain instead of waiting, and wasting a couple of days and then having like 1 or 2 days left to hunt. And that's it. So I get down there, go back to that same stand. That morning it's raining, kind of a medium, consistent, all-day type rain. It was supposed to break in the afternoon, I think, but it was, just one of those big soaking, consistent rains. So I go down there and get in the stand, and, it's daylight, maybe a little before 7. And the first couple hours, like, I didn't see a hair. I mean, there's nothing, and I'm getting soaked. My equipment's getting soaked, I have this rain gear on, but it's starting to, get damp through it and stuff. And you start wondering a little bit, why you're doing what you're doing, and
For sure.
Yeah, right.
why you're out there. And then, again, like, okay, now my gear's all soaked and I've got, 3 more days to hunt. This could maybe mess that up. But so about a little after 9, I think, look back where I wrote here, about 9:11 in the morning. Hadn't seen a hair. And then it's like a light switch turned. It's still raining. I had it about 110 inch or so 8-point come up the hill about 50 yards away. And the only way I could describe these bucks' behavior that I'm going to talk about is that they were almost panicked. They were kind of frantic in their, they were searching for does. There were no does in the area that I knew of. Like, I didn't see any all morning. These bucks weren't tracking does. They weren't, like one walked through and they're on its scent. They were just like frantically looking around. So this buck is kind of, he's moving fast. He's looking, he's sniffing, he's trying to obviously find a doe, and he moves through pretty quick and walks up the hill. About 20 minutes later, I'm looking behind me, and in front of me was kind of my best opening for a shot. And that's where all the deer kind of moved through the weekend before. And I'm looking behind me for what didn't seem like very long, and I turn around, and because it's raining and everything's wet, you can't hear a thing. So you're just trying to look everywhere at once, right? And I turn around, and I see this huge 8-point, probably just big body, really muscly. You can tell he's, a mature buck, at least 4 or 5 years old. Huge body, huge neck, big, probably, 140-inch 8-point. And he's walking through my opening at like 20 yards. And I grab my bow. By the time I grab the bow, he's in the brush. And he's going where I don't have a shot. So that the thing I feared the most had just happened. This shooter walks right past me, and I didn't even hear him coming. Threw some grunts at him, and he walks up the hill, and as he's walking up the hill, we're eye to eye at that point because he was gaining elevation. I throw some grunts at him, and he turns and he's looking right at me in the tree. And he acts like he wants to come back, but, there's no deer there he can see. I can tell he knows something's up. And he just keeps going the way up the hill there. So that was disappointing. But there's 2 bucks within 20 minutes that were doing the same thing. And he was also kind of just quickly, frantically kind of searching, and not your typical chasing, but it was just kind of weird behavior from what I've seen during the rut. About 10 minutes later, another 8-point behind me, doing the same thing, works up the hill. And then at about 9, I think it's around 9:50, so all this is within about 40 minutes. I look straight ahead of me, kind of parallel down the side of the hill, and I see this just really big-bodied deer like trotting straight at me. And I mean, everything I'm about to say happened in about 8 seconds. There's huge bodied deer trotting right at me. He turns his head, looking sideways. I can see he has a really big set of antlers on him. I could tell he's a shooter, about the first 2 seconds. He's trotting right at me, and I only have one little hole that he's going to go through. So I grab my bow quick. I grunt at him, mouth grunt at him, and he stops almost perfectly in the hole, but a little bit off center, and he kind of turns sideways. But when he does, I mean, he also looks right at me. So he's got me pegged. And I know I just have a very limited amount of time to make a decision. So I draw, and I had to squat down almost to the seat because I was standing up. I had to squat down as I drew, and he's staring at me the whole time, and get on him and shoot. So all that happened in about 8 seconds. I shoot, the arrow's going right for, the middle of his ribs, right behind his shoulder, looks good, but as I shoot and I'm seeing the arrow going, he immediately pinwheels and runs off. And he's, 18, 20 yards. So all that happened so quick, and I see him go off. He looked, his flag wasn't up, he looked like I hit him. I just couldn't tell, did he pinwheel before or after I hit him? Or, right in the middle, and how did I hit him? Still raining, right? So I didn't want to wait very long if there was any blood to get washed away. So I got down probably 15, 20 minutes just to look at the arrow, and, kind of one of your worst nightmares, I get down and the arrow has nothing but brown bile on it.
Oh, boy.
I mean, just garbage, no blood. And the only sign around the area was white belly hair. I'm like, great. I clipped his guts. He must have spun, as I shot, and I hit him, clipped him low. So, that was not a good feeling, but so I knew where he went, and I carefully walked out maybe 120, 150 yards, just searching, looking for blood. I couldn't find any blood. So kind of the worst scenario, when I talk about hunting in the rain, is this, right? You don't know the kind of shot you made. Any blood is now gone, and I don't think there was much to begin with. And so I start looking for blood. Can't find that. I go direction I saw him go, about 150 yards, scanning. I don't see a body, right? So, and if I would have hit him good, I felt like he should have been within that area. I do that a couple of times, and I'm feeling pretty awful about, the chances of me finding this buck. Long story short, setting the stage here, but long story short, I back out. I think about it, I call a few people. I talk to my dad, and I really thought that I wouldn't find this deer because I couldn't track him because the property was so thick. If if he started wandering around, there'd be no way to know where he went. Some parts of his property are so thick you can't see, 10 feet. So backed out, didn't feel good about it at all. But the next day comes, go back out the next morning, about 24 hours, had passed. It got really cold and snowed, that afternoon, and at night it was really cold. So I said, well, if that arrow went where it looked like it went, that deer should be dead. It's just, can I find him or not? And so, I kind of felt there was a 50-50 chance. And he went toward this ridge, and that's kind of where I stopped. Over the top of the ridge goes down, and there's a creek, and it gets really thick. And actually, in 2016, I shot a 13 point that went and did the exact same thing. He went down the thick stuff in the creek, and that's where I found him. So I figured if he went in a straight line, if he was, hit good, or at least decent, he would be somewhere down in there, and it would have stopped. And that would be my best bet at finding him. So I picked up, where the shot was. I went back on the same line, no blood. I went over this ridge, which was kind of clear, kind of open at the top of this ridge. And I decided I'm just going to go down this ridge. I'm going to walk parallel to this creek in the thick brush, and I'm just going to start looking, just start scanning. And literally 50 yards into that, probably like 15 minutes after I started, he was laying right there. And I'm pretty sure he's probably about a couple hundred yards from where I shot him. I'm pretty sure he went pretty much straight there on a line and just fell over dead. It turned out to be actually a pretty decent shot. It was, I got lung, liver, and then it clipped his stomach on the way out, and that's what all that I saw was that. So anyways, ups and downs, right, of that story of hunting in the rain. But the interesting thing was afterward, I started thinking about it. I'm like, just the behavior of those 4 bucks, right? Within 50 minutes, 4 of these bucks, which isn't super out in the rut if they're following a doe. But these bucks were really panicked, acting really frantic, and they're searching, which was weird to me. So, try to figure out why would they do this, and theorize that. And so these are some of the things that I came up with that I think to me make a lot of sense. And for me, again, a lot of pros and cons with hunting in the rain, but this to me makes me want to hunt in the rain every time now. So my theory is that, first of all, the things that kind of added up to this behavior it was obviously the peak rut. That was kind of set the stage for everything. I don't think you definitely would have that kind of behavior, or it would make as much sense to hunt in the rain if you don't have a really big reason to. And this reason was the rut. So bucks were obviously moving. They were seeking, trying to find does. I think that, was the first thing that set it up. But the big thing is to their behavior, I think, was their inability to smell. If they were not with the doe at that time, they could not track one because of all the rain. And they probably couldn't smell on the wind very well either. So pretty much their sense of smell was gone, which is, what they would primarily use to find does. So the only thing they had left, they couldn't hear, obviously, because, couldn't hear a deer walking around and go check it out. Just like I couldn't hear the buck that, the first buck that I missed that came through, the big one. They couldn't smell the does. They couldn't track them. They couldn't get downwind of them. That sense was totally knocked out. They couldn't hear and go investigate a doe, moving around in the brush or in the leaves. So they're only down to one sense, and that was sight. which is their weakest sense. And really, on this property is so thick, they couldn't, even that wasn't that great. They couldn't see very far. So this forced them, kind of, I guess, a panicked, frantic state to just start running around and cruising and trying to see other deer, trying to see does. And so I just thought that was really interesting that all those things added up, at least in my theory, to cause that kind of movement at that time. And so for me, hunting in the rain, that made a lot of sense to do if you have some of those things that line up.
Yeah, I could see them not being able to smell as being huge. Like a dog, if the ground's wet, they could smell a little better, but in a heavy rain, they can't. You know what I mean? So I guarantee you they're not going to smell when you walked in. And then with the wind and your scent, I would think that scent would get pushed right to the ground with a medium rain. You know what I mean? This is something me and homies talked about a lot. Is like, is it going out there worth it? But when you hunt in the rain, it is absolutely brutal. Like, it is one of the hardest things to do, especially if it's around that 40-degree or colder mark. Like, it is really hard to hunt in even a light rain when it's 40. Snow is great. Like, you can brush snow off. You can keep your clothes dry, you know what I mean? But rain is hard, you know what I mean? And this is something we've, like, man, you don't want to miss a day. But we've hunted blinds in the rain before. But when you hunt a blind in the rain, you cannot hear anything. You cannot see anything. And we figured out during turkey season that the noise off that blind is actually scaring deer. So that's something that we're not going to do anymore. The rain hitting that blind is unnatural. And that's something that we're not going to do anymore. And it's hard to, a lot of times, even, during the rut in Illinois, it might warm up to 40 during the day, and you might get a little rain, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to be out there. But like you said, the tracking's where it comes in, man. If you don't have blood and you're in a thick area like we hunt or like you were talking, it's hard to find that deer. And that's where the line's drawn. Like, I got to put a money shot on this deer or come back and do a body search like you did, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not a no-brainer, I guess, in that regard. Yeah. It's definitely a tough call.
Yeah, it is. But we're big on, like I said, not missing any days as possible. If you have a day to hunt, you should be out there trying to get it done. With us being dads and, working full time, not podcasting for a living and hunting for a living, if you got a day to hunt, you got to utilize it. So, those days on light rain, we're definitely going. But man, if you got a thunderstorm coming in, or a medium rain, but a lot of episodes like we were talking before, right after that rain where it's heavy and then it starts to begin light, those same kind of story. The bucks are frantic, they're running around, they're doing stuff that they wouldn't be doing normally, and I think it's probably because their senses are at like the lowest they can possibly be. I mean, I wonder if he even has to do, they're soaking wet too, you know what I mean? And, they don't care if they get wet. They're used to it, you know what I mean? They're used to getting rained and snowed on, and that's like people do hunting high winds. I mean, deer are used to high winds, you know what I mean? Like, they live in that environment. It's rough for us, but they live in that environment. So I think this is a super cool topic that I think a lot of people miss a lot of good days in the rut because it's 25-mile-an-hour wind, I'm not going. Or it's raining, I'm not going. Or, there's a storm coming, I can hunt 2 hours in the morning that I'm going to be wet, and I'm going to have to, deer aren't going to move in the rain, which I think is completely false. So.
Yeah, I think you have to really look at the type of rain, too. Like, this, again, was a medium rain. It wasn't like a torrential downpour with high winds that, like a hurricane is coming through. I think there is differences there. Like, years and years ago, I hunted literally in a hurricane. I think it was when Hurricane Sandy maybe was coming up through, made land. It was coming up through Ohio, and it was probably producing 60, 70-mile-an-hour winds. And I was young and dumb, and I I was, in Ohio. I'm like, I'm gonna hunt. I didn't see any deer. Right. Uh, there is certain weather that deer are just gonna bed down and hunker down. But
I believe that too. If a heavy rain or high wind, I feel like it is. But even this shotgun season, we had a couple crap days raining and
Right.
stuff, and you went out in it. You know what I mean? And
right.
I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's raining. I'm not going." You know what I mean? I feel like that's not the right thing to do. Is get out there and try it. Just like your case, it worked out in your benefit. Getting into your stand way quieter,
Yeah.
accessing way quieter. If you're hanging a stand, you're gonna. I mean, you know what it's like when it's raining in the woods. It's loud. You know what I mean? The only bad thing is, when those leaves get wet, man, they come in like ghosts. I mean, it's all visual, just like the deer from there on out.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of guys will just look at the weather and see rain and avoid it, and then plan other days. But they could be missing out if it's, like I said, a really moderate rain. Like you said, you can get in there if you're gonna set a stand. Like I always try to set stands when it is raining or high winds, just for that reason. They can't hear you. The rain's gonna wash your scent away. So that is in your favor. And just again, the sense thing, like they can't smell, they can't hear. They've got to move around if they're going to, unless they're bedded down, unless they're hunkered down because the weather's so bad, which would be extreme weather. But if it's just raining and it's kind of miserable, but it's bearable, a lot of guys avoid that. But I think they're missing opportunities, like like the example here, that deer will move in that, right? And actually, they're forced to move more if they want to move. They have to get up, especially the rut. And I think the rut, again, is the key that really flips the switch a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if like early October rain. I feel like if a cold front's coming right after that rain and pushing in, it'd be good to go. But definitely during the rut or shotgun season or something like that, those deer are going to move. They're going to want to chase does. We've hunted in the rain multiple times now, and like I said, it sucks. There's nothing fun about it. When you're wet, it sucks. And with us, filming, a lot of times we're like, throw a bag over the camera, or throw now we have a water shield from Badlands. It's a pack cover, but we use it as a camera cover, and that's what we've been using. But it doesn't mean we're not going to be in the woods. And what was it? It was Josh Brody. He was a legend that killed right after a rain. I'm trying to think of the other one. I mean, we're talking like world-class deer that were killed right after, 170, 180 plus deer that were killed right after a rainstorm or right, when the rain started to be light. And it was multiple episodes back to back. That's why, having you on talking about it, talking about a little pros and cons. I mean, the con is if you shoot the deer and it is heavy rain, you're going to have less of blood trail. If you can get that deer to die, within sight distance, no problem. But if it's something that you're going to have to track, there is a moral question there. You have to choose what you want to do. But it goes back to do the pros outweigh the cons. You got another day hunting. The potential for when this rain stops, the deer are going to move really good. It's the rut. Anything can happen. So you have to kind of choose what you want to do there. And I'm always for hunting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Unless it's a torrential downpour. Kind of like the day you shot your buck, the snow melted. We had less blood, but we still had enough blood to find the deer, you know what I mean? And I've never personally tracked blood in the rain. Have you ever tracked blood in the rain?
I've done a little bit just in like shotgun season stuff, but nothing like with a bow in early November or late October or anything like that. It just kind of is like washy on the leaves, and I mean, if I could definitely see if there's a medium to heavy rain, like it'll be off the leaf, no problem.
What do you think, Nick? Have you ever tracked anything in the rain before?
No.
No, yeah, I've never tracked anything in the rain to where I could have that like pro-con value. But like I said, hopefully you put a good shot on the deer and it dies within sight, you know what I mean? And then you don't have to worry about that. But it does go back to a moral question at the end to, is this ethical to go out here? But I would say yes, just don't take a bad shot, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But sometimes stuff happens. Like I've had the same thing happen like you happen. A deer turns when you shoot, and you make a bad shot. That's happened to me on absolute giant deer, you know what I mean? So
I'm gonna say you were just saying that you don't feel like a rain is gonna get a deer up at the beginning of October, and I agree with that. But I feel like once that they really start running scrapes and running them scrapes hard, that October 15th through the rest of the month, especially the beginning of the rut, like I've said on here, I don't know how many times, like that's something that I look for and I like to key in on in that late October time frame, because I feel like that it's going to get them bucks up to hit them scrapes, and I'll be
Ghost
hunting
did.
In that area.
Because Ghost was right around a rain, right?
Yep.
And then he came and refreshed that scrape.
Yep, I had the camera out, and I put the camera away because it literally was almost raining sideways on me, and then it blew over, and it was still cloudy, but the wind had calmed down, and he come out right on the field edge and had to walk right down the tree line, and then boom, right there he is on a licking branch with 2 scrapes underneath of it, and then he just pops right in the woods and 16-yard shot, and then he's done. So I feel like that rain had a major
impact in getting him up. He wanted to freshen those scrapes.
Exactly.
Be the first one there to hit it.
And it might have gave him a little extra on his nose, to get that moisture on his nose with that little bit of rain.
Yeah, I mean, even like bass and fishing, you know what I mean, that front coming in has an effect on wildlife, you know what I mean? So that could definitely have a movement factor on deer. I wish there was some scientist that could break this down and be like, yeah, if a rain's coming in, you guys need to be out there.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where you see patterns over time, and if you never do something for some reason, you don't know. Right?
Yeah,
you don't
exactly. We've said that multiple times. If you don't try something, you never know it's going to work. You know what I mean? If you try it and you're like, this is not for me, then you know. But if you don't ever try it, then you're like, well, next year or
There's
next
still
month,
this, yeah.
I'm going to give this a go. You know what I mean? And that's what we were talking about this year. We're trying all that stuff that we're like, we say it every year, but this is the year. We're trying all that stuff that we're on the edge, like, we might try this. No, we are trying it. And if it's a flop, we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun trying a bunch of new dumb stuff. You know what I mean? And hunting in the rain, man, if you got it done in the rain, it'd be super fun.
Right.
But until that point, it wouldn't be fun. So
it's worth it. It's worth it if you have success. And it's not saying that just because it's raining, you're going to see deer. It's just an opportunity that a lot of people don't take or avoid that maybe they should. That they should think about.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say it is a, your heart kind of sinks a little bit when that deer does run out of range, just like it did when I shot Ghost. He went up over that last ridge, and I was like, oh, okay, like we might have a problem here. And sure enough, I did have a problem finding blood. So just always got to have that thought in the back of your mind when you're out there at that time.
Yeah, I think it is, though, too, is... not, like you said, not taking chances. Like, know what your shots are. Decide beforehand what shots you will and will not take. Where if on perfect weather days you'll take a 40-yard shot. In the rain you're only going to take this shot. I'm only going to shoot 25 yards or 20 yards.
Yeah, that's a good tactic to use, man.
Yeah.
Maybe the rain, maybe lower that yardage down and you still want to be out there, but you don't want to wound anything and not find it, you know what I mean? So maybe lower that yardage down, because we're just talking, our groups from 40 to 50 are dramatically different, you know what I mean? So if you lower that down to 30, your odds of making a good shot are so much better. There's guys out there that can just shoot bows like missiles, you know what I mean? And I can shoot it pretty good, but I'm not no X, I'm not no X hitter.
Especially throw, a 150 out in front of me.
Yeah,
like, holy
get
shit.
me all jacked up and everything, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think it's just being smart about it. If you're going to take the slightly higher risk of doing it, is just being honest with yourself and your capabilities, and just taking less risk if a situation comes up, and also I think deciding beforehand. That's when you need to make those decisions, not when you're out there. But I think if you do that, I think it's a good opportunity to see movement that you might not regularly see, and could turn out well. And I think also knowing your area, like I knew this land pretty good, so I knew based on what he did and experience where I was pretty sure he was headed and would be, unless he just started wandering around and didn't die. And that was a huge help for me, because if you don't have that, or you don't have a history with the property, you can make guesses, but I think then it gets a little tougher.
Yeah, knowing the potential thick areas of where a buck had went in the past and died, etc., stuff like that. Literally 3 of the deer that I've killed on the private were, well, 2 of the deer and 1 that I jumped up alive were within 100 yards of each other, all dead. You know what I mean? So that was just an area that deer went to die. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they were all killed out of the same stand, and they could have went left, right. They all went the same direction and ended up dying within 100 yards of each other. So that goes to say, like, if it is raining and you do know your property, you know the areas that bucks have went, in the past and expired and stuff like that. So that is another good tip. If you know the land, know where the thick areas are, at least you have a good basis of where to start. But
don't let it cloud your judgment, because that is what threw me off when I was looking for Ghost. I was dead set that I seen him go this way, and that's where the history of the deer went, and it clouded my judgment.
Never know if they might take a left-hand turn.
Yep, or just do quick. A nice little J-hook.
Yeah, a little J-hook and expire right there. So, all right, well, let the listeners know where they can, if they want to purchase some SoundBarrier, where they can find it and where they can read all these blogs.
Yeah, so SoundBarrierHunting.com. SoundBarrierHunting.com. They're pretty easy. You can kind of tool around and find our shop and find the buck bumper, which is the wrap for soundproofing all your hunting gear, and then you'll see the blog there, and you can look through all the different topics and read those. So
nice, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. I think this was a good off the wall kind of episode, man. This is something that we wanted to cover, and we had someone that had some experience of actually having a hunt, shooting a deer in a rainstorm, and finding the deer. So appreciate you coming on, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is, like I said, this is a little bit of a hard answer to answer. You know what I mean? Should I hunt in the rain, man? It goes back to blood tracking, goes back to if the bucks are moving, you need to be there. And we bounce back and forth in this one. He shares a great hunt, a lot of action, and like I said, he's all for it. Check out SoundBarrierHunting.com. A lot of good content on that blog right there. And I'm excited to try out the SoundBarrier and see what it's about. We'll let the followers know on Instagram or on Facebook what we think about it, what we're using it on.
And Twitter.
And Twitter, and give you a solid review of what we think. Adam seems like a really solid dude, and we're excited to try his product and continue reading some of his blogs. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Just giant shout out to you guys. You guys have been crushing the listens lately. Huge thank you to that. We're trying to bring you some content. Whitetail a lot. What's that?
Hit up the iTunes review if you're if you're feeling.
Yeah. Homie says hit up an iTunes review if you're feeling frisky.
There you go.
We had a epic review. I think it was a 3-star a while back. That was a fire one. That was the most honest review we got ever. But yeah, if you guys want to leave a review, that'd be great. If not, just keep hitting that play button. Hopefully you're getting some kind of content. If you're not getting any content, hopefully you're getting some enjoyment, entertainment, something.
Just laugh at us at least.
Just laugh at how dumb we are. Whatever it takes. But we appreciate you guys tuning in every week.
There you are again, whatever it takes.
Yep. We're coming out with another banger after this one. You guys aren't going to want to miss that one. Another legend coming at you next week. All right. Always try to do the right thing. Leave a legacy. And Whitetail Legacy's out until next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time when you need to listen to the next Legend episode. We're out.
Out.